What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the King Sport with me, Vince Miracle, here for Fansided.com, GoldenGateSports.com, and of course, SatKingsNation.com. So be sure to go all three of those websites for all of your daily Kings news. Today's episode is just full of rumors and basically everything that's going on with it. That's why this episode is called Trade Rumors. That's why the name of the episode happened. Anyways, again, my name is Vincent Miracle. I am your host today. Again, I'm here for Fansided.com, GoldenGateSports.com, and SatKingsNation.com, websites that give you just a dose of daily all Kings news and just a little bit of insight of what can all mean and potential stuff of what it could possibly mean for the Kings in the future. And so today's breaking news, well, I guess you can call it breaking news, biggest trade rumor of the day was the Kings are possibly in a negotiation to get forward Josh Smith from the Detroit Pistons, and a package deal that would possibly, one trade scenario that came out by Mark Stein of ESPN was Jason Thompson, Derek Williams, or Jason Terry. Now, I'm going to get into all the trade rumors, of course, with the Bulls. There's one recently that just came out, I think it was today actually, again, from of course Mark Stein once again as well, that the Kings might be also moving to get Boston point guard Rajon Rondo. I'm going to get into a little bit about Isaiah Thomas and hit on that a little bit, and of course take a couple of the fan questions that I got before today's show. Excuse me. Now, back to this whole Josh Smith trade. For me, this is just me. Let me know what you guys think about it and what you guys all think, but you go after this deal. I mean, if you're not giving up the number 8 pick, which, again, in this trade scenario that I read by Mark Stein of ESPN, it's Jason Thompson, Derek Williams, or Jason Terry. For me, you add Jason Terry just to add Jason Terry. Jason Terry's on that twilight end of his career where you don't even really know if he wants to be a Sacramento King, and you don't really know if he wants to go to the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons are basically in the same boat of the Sacramento Kings, where they're not really in that winning stage yet, but they're trying to rebuild and get somewhere, and they have some great, nice pieces with Andre Drummond, Greg Monroe, and Brandon Jennings, of course, and things like that. So maybe, you never know, Jason Terry can add that veteran leadership over there with Chauncey and Rasheed Lewis, or Rashard Wallace. God, that slipped my mind there. And, get that whole team back into the winning circle from back in the glory days. But, yeah, I think personally for me, I want to know what you guys all think. You go after that deal. Just like in the Rudy Gay trade, the Kings gave up talent, yes. And Grievous Vasquez, Patrick Patterson, Chuck Hayes, who you can debate is really a talent. That's kind of mean to say, but true. And John Salmons. You gave up those 4 and you got 3 in return. And the big deal, of course, was Rudy Gay. In this trade, you're giving up Jason Thompson, who earlier this offseason already vented about how, you know what, maybe it's time for a change. Maybe the grass is greener on the other side. You're giving up Derek Williams, who's an expiring contract at the end of this season. Yes, he's young, but really he has not proved himself in this league since starting with Minnesota. So maybe it's time for him. Maybe the Kings think, you know what, let's bring in a sort of veteran, that borderline all-star in Josh Smith. Sorry about my voice, guys. It's cutting out in and out. But you bring in a player like that, and maybe that's exactly what this team needs. Now, there is a big risk with Josh Smith. Josh Smith is one of the most inefficient players you'll ever meet. He shoots too many three-pointers. He relies too much on his jump shot in general. Now, what was great about him in Atlanta was he was playing next to Al Horford, right down low in the post as the power forward, not the 3 like he was doing in Detroit when he was playing as the 3 with a front court trio of Drummond, Monroe, and Smith. Now he can move back to that power forward spot and have Rudy Gay on the ball. Also, he's a shooter. He's an offensive guy. He shoots the ball way too much. Now, he is an all-around player. He can pass the ball, but he is not, a passing player. You don't look at him and say, yeah, he's a facilitator. You don't look at him and say, yeah, he's a great shooter. What he is he's a, undersized power forward who is great with athleticism, can block shots, and is a walking potential triple-double. I mean, he got 10 blocks in a game, so he can play defense, and that's what the Kings need. But he also likes the ball in his hands. He also likes to shoot. The Kings bring back Isaiah Thomas, another guy who likes to shoot. You have DeMarcus Cousins, another guy that likes to shoot. He's the main focus of the offense. Rudy Gay, isolation type of player, likes the ball in his hands. So you have all of these pieces around. Now let's neglect the fact that Isaiah Thomas is an unrestricted free agent and just put him in the lineup now. He's not he's not a restricted free agent right now. He's a King. In my mindset right now, that's the mindset we're all having. How does this all fit? How does that come together? And that's why I understand, which moves on to trade scenario number 2, which is not really a trade scenario per se, but it's been reported that the Kings are still interested in point guard Rajon Rondo. And maybe acquiring his friend Josh Smith from Detroit brings in a little interest from Rondo, and the Boston makes that kind of deal. Maybe they do a sign and trade deal for Isaiah Thomas. That's potential with the number 8 pick. Number 8 pick, Isaiah Thomas for Rajon Rondo. I mean, for those who don't like that deal, I mean, think about it. Rondo's been actively getting better on his offense. He's been in the playoffs. He's won a championship. He's a great facilitator, a great passer. And that's what the Kings need. The Kings need a facilitator, someone who distributes the basketball very, very well, I think. I think someone who can get that ball out of all of their hands and move it around. And that's exactly what I think the Kings need. Now, will that happen? Probably not. Who knows? The draft is 2 days away. All these trade scenarios have been coming up. All these possibilities are coming up for Sacramento. And of course, I mean, the consensus is around the league and around the NBA world right now, whether you go on Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff, is the Kings are looking to trade this pick. So maybe the trade is, Rajon Rondo. And that's why I'm saying, if the Kings can make a deal where they only give up Jason Thompson, Derek Williams for Josh Smith, and you bring that in, you could package after the draft. You're going to be picking for Boston, so maybe you pick in that order. Maybe you pick up Aaron Gordon. Maybe you pick up, if he drops, Julius Randle. If he drops, Joel Embiid. If he's there, Dante Exum. Maybe you pick up those type of players. You package that deal together, or maybe you give up Isaiah Thomas, that number 8 pick, and that's it. You package that deal up. Isaiah Thomas has walked into money. And there's been multiple reports coming out right now that the Kings front office is still split on whether or not he's part of this Kings future. And not because they don't like him, but also the fact, is he a 6-man or is he a starter? For me personally, being a 5'9" scoring point guard who has come out and personally said himself that he knows he's a score-first point guard, maybe that just doesn't fit this roster. It doesn't fit this roster. They don't need a 5'9" point guard who's going to come in and score every single time he touches the ball. That's what his first mindset is to score the basketball. And that's what's great about Isaiah Thomas. But that's not something the Kings need right now, especially for what they're building for. They're building for defense, which Josh Smith brings. They're building for an offense that moves the basketball around. Now, of course, even the trio of Josh Smith, DeMarcus Cousins, and Rudy Gay is not a ball-moving type of offense, but adding Isaiah Thomas to the mix as well, there's not 4 basketballs in a game. There's only 1. So that's something that needs to be taken into complete consideration when thinking about doing this deal. But again, if you can package a deal with the number 8 pick Isaiah Thomas for a veteran and still improving Rajon Rondo, and then on the other hand, you give up just Jason Thompson, who, once again, I'll say it, has vented out on Cowbell Kingdom's podcast. You can go check that out on YouTube as well. That he wanted to, taste the grass on the other side. See what it's like over there. He sees all these other teammates, like John Salmons, Vasquez, Patterson, in the playoffs now. Maybe that's where he wants to go, is try a different team and see what he can do there. And then you package Derek Williams. Again, maybe another change of scenery is good for him, even though he's still young. He needs to find his way. Or Jason Terry, who, again, veteran leadership on the twilight of his career. For Josh Smith, a 28-year-old who, has inefficiencies, but could be something special. That borderline all-star had a great career in Atlanta. Took a big drop in Detroit this past season, but he's still that talent. And maybe Coach Malone can do it. It's all a risk. Of course it's a risk. But for a small market team like Sacramento, I think it's the right move. I think you take that risk. Of course it can blow up right in your face. You're going to have fights in the locker room. You don't know what's going to happen. Maybe Josh Smith's, bully, leadership, attitude, and DeMarcus Cousins is the same way. And then you have Rudy Gay on the side trying to, make himself known on the offense. And then maybe that just blows up in your face. You have Rondo. Let's say the Kings acquire Rondo. Rondo has that, I want to win mindset, and that he's been reported in having a a bit of that back and forth attitude with the veterans of like Paul Pierce, KG, and Ray Allen, and they went into a little spat as well. So you're going to have all these different types of personalities and things like that all in one locker room, and it might not work. But in today's NBA, the more talent you have, the bigger factor you can be on the court. The better chance of you being a contender. So I think personally, you go after these type of deals. It's not a blockbuster deal by any means. I mean, the Rajon Rondo deal, in my opinion, would be the biggest blockbuster, and it would be more of a blockbuster deal than Josh Smith's, if the Kings can pull that off. Now, again, with Josh Smith for the next, I think, 2 years will be making a little over $14 million. Now, that is a concern. But again, it doesn't put them at the cap. And again, it puts the Kings in a scenario where, or in a situation where they're full of talent. Josh Smith, DeMarcus Cousins, Rudy Gay, that is a front court trio that needs to be, taken seriously. Especially before the season. On paper, that is a mean trio of a front court. Then the back court, you'd have a improving, still developing Ben McLemore with a veteran championship ring holding, a championship point guard, a champion point guard in Rajon Rondo, who's still young, not really young. I mean, he's kind of up there in his 20s, but young point guard in Rajon Rondo, who's a great facilitator, still improving on his offense, can finish at the basket with either hand, and a great distributor. And I think that's what the Kings need. I think you take those risks. Now, of course, there's the other trade scenario, trade possibility for the Kings that recently came out, that the Kings and the Chicago Bulls have been talking about possibly trading, that number 8 pick for maybe 2 first-round picks, Taj Gibson. There's some pieces there. I highly doubt, and this is what I've been getting a lot of questions on, is do you think the Bulls would trade Jimmy Butler for the number 8 pick? I don't think so. I think that the Bulls are really high on Jimmy Butler, especially with Derrick Rose having that, he's injury prone now. You have to take that into consideration. 2 seasons in a row with that ACL tear. So I think they're really high on Jimmy Butler. I don't think Jimmy Butler is going anywhere. The report is that the Bulls want to move up to the number 8 pick for, Doug McDermott or Nick Stauskas for that offense, and they need offense. They're a defensive-minded team, and that's great, especially in the East. But they lacked offense. I mean, their best offensive shooter was Mike Dunleavy, and he can't really, this is my personal opinion, and what I see on the court with my eyes, is that he can't score off the dribble. He's one of those players that he needs someone to create for him, like a Derrick Rose, and kick it out to him. Tony Snell, he's an improving shooter. He's still a young guy. Maybe the Kings can acquire him. He's known for his defense, and the Kings were high on him the past offseason. But I don't really see that going on. Now, maybe 2 first-rounders is what you get for that number 8 pick. I believe it's the 19th and the 23rd, or the 16th and the 19th pick. Right around there. And around those picks, you have Tyler Ennis, a distributing point guard. You have Rodney Hood, a forward who can score. You have a mixture of players that can be around those picks. Maybe that's a deal they strike. But I know that they want veteran help. And Taj Gibson, I think, is what I believe is what the Kings are probably going to be looking to hold on to if Chicago wants to move into that number 8 pick and that number 8 slot. I think the Kings will want Taj Gibson. They're going to want another player that can come in and be a veteran. I don't think they want, 2 more rookies to add onto this roster. It was already reported the day of the draft lottery, right when the Kings found out they had the number 8 pick, not more than 20 minutes later, I believe even 15 minutes later, it was already came out that Kings put the number 8 pick on the trading block. That fast. Quick second. And it was for veteran help. That's what they wanted. So I don't expect the Kings to trade, hey, here, you know what, you can have this number 8 pick, and we're just going to take 2 late first round first-round picks, even though I want veteran help. You know what? I'll just add 2 more pieces. I don't see that happening with them already coming out saying they want veteran help. So, there's that as well. I believe that's all the rumors that I have for today's show. I did want to get on this, actually, that is not a rumor, but I did want to hit on the fact that Rudy Gay opted into his contract before the draft. That is amazing news for Kings fans, mainly because now the Kings know what's going on with their future. Now they can start trying to negotiate a deal while they have time. They have the entire next season before he becomes an unrestricted free agent, but now they have time to, show him we're going to start trying to win. Let's make a multiple-year deal to make you be a part of this Kings future. And I think that's exactly what they're going for, and that's exactly what they want to do. And I think it was, great on Rudy Gay's part to let Pete D'Alessandro and the Kings' entire franchise know that both fans and front office and the entire team, I want to be here and see what you guys can do. I want to be a part of this team. Now, maybe it's greed. Maybe he just did want that $19.3 million. Or maybe he really does believe in this franchise. Either way, I think Rudy Gay is exactly what this Kings needs, especially with the scarcity at that small forward position. I mean, there's not a lot of small forwards that you look to and say, yeah, that is a top-tier small forward. I think Rudy Gay is in that top 10 level of small forwards in the league right now. So, to have him on this team, I think is exactly what this Kings team needs. Alright guys, it's time for the fan questions now. If you have a question that you want to get on the show, you can email your questions to sknarticles@gmail.com. Of course, you can tweet your questions to the website at sknarticles, or you can tweet myself on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @VMCenter, which you should be able to see right around here. So, alright, let me pull up these fan questions for all of us to read. And the first question of the day comes from Mr. Baca. And Mr. Baca, thank you for your question and your activity that you always do for this show. You always have a great question. His question is, if you were PDA, what's the best scenario when it comes to handling IT? Which is Isaiah Thomas. With the possibility of locking up Rudy, which we did, would you try to re-sign Isaiah Thomas, hoping he agrees to $6 to $7 million? Let him test the free agent market, or sign and trade IT to get additional draft picks or veteran help. Or veteran players, I'm sorry. Well, Mr. Baca, thank you for your amazing question, and the questions that you always give to the show. They're really, really awesome. With Isaiah Thomas, now that the Kings have Rudy Gay, locked in for the 2014-2015 season, 2014-2015 season, I think that you let him test it. I mean, they've already given Isaiah Thomas his quality offer. So now it's up to Isaiah Thomas and that's just a thing you have to do if you want him to be restricted free agent. So that was a technicality that's up in the air. That does not mean they're going to re-sign Isaiah Thomas. I believe they've done it, or it's going to be imminent. So it's going to be right during the draft. You're going to hear about it. But the Kings have already gave Isaiah Thomas that qualifying offer. And now you let him test free agency. You let him see his value in the NBA. I personally don't think, if he is worth more than $6 million, if he's worth $7 million, I don't think the Kings re-sign him. And I believe I saw a report as well that the Kings are hopeful to re-sign Isaiah Thomas for a reasonable price, and in their mind it is $6 million. So, again, the Kings are split down the middle on whether or not that Isaiah Thomas is a part of this future or not. They don't know which direction they really want to go. And they don't know if he is a six-man or a starter. And Isaiah Thomas has come out and stated that he believes he's a starter, that he wants to be a starter. But he's also come out and said that he just wants to be wanted. And that's the problem with this Kings front office. They don't know if they really want Isaiah part of this future. Do they think he's a great player? Yes. Do they think that he's worth money? Yes. But is he a right fit for this Sacramento Kings roster? And that is still up in the air. I personally think it's going to be a sign-and-trade deal to where, I don't know, maybe it's that Boston deal. Maybe he goes to Boston and the Kings get Rajon Rondo in a deal. Who knows? But it's something that you need to take into consideration. Mr. Baca, let me know what you think. And all you Kings fans as well. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think Isaiah Thomas should come back to Sacramento? Or do you guys want to see him do a sign and trade deal and test his value on the free agent market, on the open market? Again, let me know what you guys think right down low in the comment section. And let me hear what you all think about Isaiah Thomas. Mr. Baca, again, thank you for your awesome question. I have two more questions here. First question comes from Nick. Nick, thank you for your question. It says, do we go after Embiid with his foot and back problems? I hit on this during the last episode, which was basically revolving around, Joel Embiid and his value draft stock dropping possibly to that 6 to 10 range. If Joel Embiid drops to number 8, let me put this out to you right now, Nick, is that draft pick becomes even more valuable. It's worth that much more. So do you trade that value away? Because now that number 8 pick, I think, is probably worth all-star caliber talent. It's worth that much because that's how much Joel Embiid's stock is. No matter if he drops to number 10, it does not matter. If he drops to number 10, his value is still high. Very, very high. Because he could be a complete bust. I mean, let's get that out of the way. But the type of player that he is, how young and still learning the game he's still learning. I mean, let's be honest, he's only been playing for 4 years. 4 years he's been playing basketball, and now he's a top 10 prospect in the NBA draft after one season at Kansas and only playing basketball for 4 years in his life. That is crazy. He's still going to develop. Yeah, he needs size, but he can shoot around mid-range shots. He has great footwork down low that still needs improving, but I mean, at his age and where he's at, he has great footwork, great rebound, and of course, he's a shot blocker. So that value for that pick to trade it is way up there. It's at a high. So maybe the Kings trade it. He is now injury prone. He missed 16 games at the beginning of the college season. He missed the entire March Madness tournament, and now he got injured during pre-draft workouts. He is now considered injury prone. He has now got a red flag next to Joel Embiid's name. Joel Embiid has it. He has that red flag. So, do you take him? Me personally, this is my personal opinion. You take that talent. You take that risk. Because let's say you trade him and you get a player like Pau Gasol. Wow, that would be great. Or Marc Gasol even. Or even, let's go off of another player that could possibly be, let's go Zach Randolph or a player of that nature, right? You get a top tier, center, power forward mixture. And Joel Embiid, and you're like, yeah, that's great right now. And then Joel turns out to be not injury prone later on in his career, and he becomes that Akeem Olajuwon comparison that he has been compared to. You just lost on that player for Marc Gasol, Zach Randolph, Pau Gasol, whoever player you pick up in that scenario. When you could have had Joel Embiid. I mean, that's the risk you take if the Kings decide to trade that pick. Me personally, I think you take the risk. The Kings are not going anywhere. Although they want to win now, they have time to build. They have time to keep rebuilding. So I don't think they need to be in any rush to do so. To make any of these irrational moves of, acquiring a Marc Gasol who's on his last legs of his career, Pau Gasol who's also on the last legs of his career, Zach Randolph, of course, on his last legs of his career. But that's what you're going to be getting with that number 8 pick. You get all-star caliber, a little bit of age, a little bit of work on him, but you still get that type of player. It sounds great now, but what if later on down the road, Joel Embiid turns into his NBA comparison of Akeem Olajuwon? That's crazy to think about. Me personally, I think you take the risk. I don't think the Kings should be in any rush, but that is an awesome question. Let me know what you guys all think. I mean, this is the last question that was in the last episode, but do you draft Joel Embiid at number 8 if he drops there, and why? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And our last question of the day comes from Rio916. Rio, how's it going, my friend? Thank you for the question. Would Anthony Morrow be a good fit for the Kings? As a 6-man, I mean, I think we already have Anthony Morrow on our team. His name's Travis Outlaw. I mean, Morrow probably has that better 3-point stroke. I mean, he's a good player, but he's like Travis Outlaw in my opinion. I mean, for those who maybe don't watch the King, as much as maybe I or others do, but Outlaw or just NBA in general, but Outlaw when he was in Portland, he was a pretty good player. He can shoot the mid-range, and you saw it this past season. When he came into games, sometimes he was the Kings' offense, especially off that bench. So, I wouldn't be shocked if the Kings, just kept Outlaw as their little, guy who rides the bench until his name is called. And Outlaw is a true professional. He came in and he started making his way into that lineup, into the rotation, and was a great fit for this Kings roster. And I think Anthony Morrow could be that guy. I don't see him, I think that you're asking maybe he could be a starter, I don't know. But I don't think he surpasses Ben McLemore. I think Ben McLemore will be that starter. I think Morrow is that 2 or 3. Maybe he plays behind Rudy Gay. He'd be a good bench guy. But I think the Kings already have their Anthony Morrow and Travis Outlaw. And that will be the final question of today's show. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Be sure to go check out all the websites, SacKingsNation.com, Fansided.com, GoldenGateSports.com for all of your daily Kings news. We have a poll going on SacKingsNation.com right now of, I listed the top 5 prospects that I think the Kings should look at if they decide to pick. And then at the end of it is on page 6, which is all 5 of it. On that last page, there's a poll of which of the 5 you would pick, and there's also that little button that says other. And then at that comment section below of that article, go ahead and write your name of the person you think the Kings should draft. Again, that's SacKingsNation.com, GoldenGateSports.com, great website, great Kings news all the way around, and of course Fansided.com as well, which is all in affiliation with the same thing. So again, everyone go check out one of those websites. Email your questions to sknarticles@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter as well. I am at VMCenter, which again you guys should be able to see right there. And until next time, Kings fans, which will be Friday post-draft, bye-bye.